Well, hello and welcome to this month's live critique. Hope you're all doing well and welcome to the show, guys. How have you all been doing?
Good. Hey, Paul. Hey, Tom.
I do. All right, mate.
Those
How's it going?
sunglasses on the top of your hat, they look really essential for some
Yeah.
nighttime.
For indoor use.
I know. I always forget
yeah.
they're on my head. To be fair, I'm normally going, "Where's my sunglasses?"
There you
oh,
go.
on my head.
Yeah, on your head. Because I look for sunglasses at nighttime too. They're essential. You
Well,
want to get that glare coming off the ceiling light. It's like, oh my god, where are my sunglasses?
My
you want me
eyes.
to get rid of them? I'll get rid of them for you. The trouble is, I've got a bit of a hat fetish. So
I've
it's
noticed.
just
We have noticed that. Yeah.
It's just the hat I picked up off the shelf, and they're already on there.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah,
It's got a bit of a habit of leaving the sticker still attached to it as well.
Yeah.
You got to leave
Did you
that
get
on
sunburned today, Paul?
Did I? I don't know. I've got a bit of pink.
Either of that, you got to go and see a liver doctor, mate. One of the two.
You know what the problem is? You know what the problem is? Hang on.
The porno lights?
Bear with. Boom. I'm still pink.
He didn't get sunburnt. He lives in the Midlands.
Yeah. It was warm today. It was the first sunny day we've had for a while, actually.
And because you're a full-time landscape photographer, it's the first time you've been outdoors in 6 weeks, because a full-time landscape photographer spends all their time in front of the computer.
Exactly. 97% of my life is
I'm an outdoorsman.
Yeah, spent staring at a screen.
Oh god. No, don't me laugh. I've had a really bad cough today, so
have you?
Yeah, hence I'm drinking a nice cup of boiling hot tea in 37-degree weather in Rome, as you do,
Oh well, that'll help it. No end, eh?
Excuse me. There you go.
Right. So the theme for this month was what, Tom?
Foregrounds in the landscape.
No, that's
next month.
For this month. That's next month.
There we go.
Patterns and shapes. Sorry.
Patterns and shapes. Yeah, that was the one.
Or shapes and patterns.
Yeah, we had some fantastic images uploaded for this month, so we want to get cracking with those. I just need to make sure I can share my screen. Actually,
yeah, that'd be handy, wouldn't it? Huh? Otherwise, we might as well just say goodbye to the live.
Yeah, just give me 2 seconds.
Wow.
And there we go. That should be that. Boom. There we go.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
So we'll crack off with the first one, which is this one here by Patty Reed Black. And let me bring this up full screen. And there you go.
Yeah.
So this is the first one that really caught our eyes. What are you thinking, guys?
Thomas?
Yeah, I like the fact that obviously the subject would suggest that the whole scene. You know what I mean? Like when you said patterns and shapes, you would expect like the shapes or the patterns to spread across the whole scene. Whereas I like the fact that you can see that there's an actual subject inside this frame. It's not spread across the whole.
Yeah, so I'm taking up the whole frame is what you're getting at, basically.
Yeah. So you really are focusing on the scales, and the background's like it's soft enough that it's not too distracting.
Yeah.
So it works. But yeah, there's so much texture that you don't normally see. Obviously, it's not because it's quite close. You don't. Your eye doesn't normally see it, so there's lots of interesting things to look at that you wouldn't normally see.
True.
It's not a normal subject, is it?
It's not for what the theme of the the photographs were. It's quite different, actually.
It's different, so it's nice to see something different. Technically, I like the way, like I said, I like the way that it stands out from the background. Is just blend in.
Yeah.
And there's obviously plenty to see. It's an interesting shot. It's hard to. I find shots it's quite hard to critique because it's so unique.
Yeah, and it's simple.
Simple. Yeah,
I think that's what really works for it. And it's, to be honest, any photograph, it's more about what you can kind of leave out of the image and simplify it for me. It really makes the image stand out. I really like the fact it's gone black and white as well, because I think if this had been in color, I'm not sure it would have worked the same way.
No, it wouldn't have worked as well, because obviously you don't know what. I'm assuming the background would be very colourful. And again, going back to what I said a minute ago with it standing out, the subject would have blended in too much.
Yeah, for sure.
To the background, I'm assuming. But yeah, I like the way that it sort of the snake curls in from the top down.
Yeah,
I do like the fact where the head stops, finishes, is sort of pleasing to the eye. The way that it's been composed. Yeah. It's hard for me because one of these shots, because it's very central, isn't it?
Well, it is. It is, but it's kind of off-centered as well, because I think it's more towards the, maybe if you're looking at it in thirds terms, it's probably what across to the right-hand third where the line would intersect. So it's kind of, it does kind of work really well from that point of view.
I wonder
Matt, what your thoughts? Sorry, Tom.
I was just going to say, I wonder what it would look like, like going really arty-farty and putting the snake off to the left and having like more of an empty space. But like I said, compositionally, I find these shots quite hard to critique because they're so unique and individual. It's sort of like the rules, as we like you said, the rule of thirds, it does meet them, but they don't always apply to some certain shots, do they? Depends, like more of like a high, like a more of a minimal image. Sometimes the rule of thirds go out the window to a certain degree.
Yeah, I mean, from me looking at it from here, my attention goes straight to the head every time.
Yeah, so definitely. And is that because you think it's off, like you said, it's off on that more towards that third than in the center?
Well, it is, and the fact that it's probably wildlife and it's got an eye, so your eye is immediately attracted to an eye anyway. So
that's a good point. Yeah.
So Matt, what are your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, I love the composition. That's what I was attracted to in the first place. I think that the rule of thirds has been completely respected. The body itself, if you actually look, starts right bang smack in line with the beginning of the second thirds of the frame, and the actual, let's say, the important part of the body and the head go bang smack in the middle of the image. So I think it's respected. The thirds have been respected very well here. I like the way that it's different to everything else because we don't get to see that much wildlife on Outdoor Photography Guide. So to have wildlife on here, and for Paddy to include this image in for shapes and patterns is a very, very smart thing to do. And a snake has got lots of patterns. So great image. I would like to see it in color too.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see it in color, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would. So you can kind of compare and contrast. But I think
there might be, the foreground and the actual color of the snake could be clashing or might not work together. It might not sit well on the color wheel together. So, we have many colors out there that sometimes just don't sit well together because they don't represent something similar on our color wheel, and so they sort of knock us out of balance, which is what could have happened. But great image. Yeah,
it is. Really like it. So, just want to remind you for next month, our theme is going to be foregrounds in the landscape. So really want to get your images in for that using the hashtag OPG Critique and submit them to the Outdoor Photography Guide Facebook group, please. Love to see them for that. And Matt, what are we getting at when we say foregrounds in the landscape?
we're not saying intimate shots of foregrounds, actually saying complementing your foregrounds into your landscape. So how would you frame a foreground into your landscape to complement it? So that's what we're referring to. So you might have a beach scene where you're using the sand as your foreground because it has something important in it that complements the rest of the scene. Flowers out in a field in front of a big mountain. A waterfall, the splashing of the water right in front of you going up into a forest. These are examples of, so we want to see compelling foregrounds in a landscape. So many ways of wording it, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely. So really looking forward to those. So please start submitting them now. Obviously, we haven't come up with a date exactly for the next live stream, but that doesn't stop you getting your images in now for the next one, because obviously it will be next month. So just start getting them in, and it doesn't matter either how many images you submit. Just keep firing them in, and it's more for us to go through and select from.
Definitely.
More the better, really, eh?
Yeah, definitely. Right, going to move on to Josh Manker's Iceland image. And I'll just bring this up full screen again.
Mm-hmm.
And there we go. Really nice and colourful.
Yeah. Again, it's not an obvious. Well, I suppose it is. It's not like a textures, is it?
It's more like shapes, I guess.
It's more
like
shapes. Yeah. So it's nice to see. I just assumed we'd get more textures. So
well, it was
nice.
patterns and shapes, I guess. So So I guess we're kind of leaning more towards the patterns.
Yeah. It's nice and soft and ethereal on the eye, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, it's nice.
And the way that it sort of arcs and curls around. Compositionally, it's all about that sky, isn't it? Really, it's very hard to sort of compose an image, isn't it, in the dark?
Excuse me.
To find like a compelling scene that complements the sky.
Yeah, it is difficult. That's for sure. Unless you've actually been there during the day and you know where you're going to shoot from and use in the foreground, it's pretty difficult.
It's very hard, isn't it?
These are and I've looked over the images probably more so in the last 5 or 6 years of Aurora. Also because up until about 5 or 6 years ago, Aurora was actually really hard to shoot because we couldn't get a good enough sensor to shoot at over 1600 without getting a lot of noise, could we?
Yeah.
So it's sort of it's become a type of photography that's come out sort of more so in the last year. It's like 6 to 8 years. There you go. But before that, it was very difficult. And there was this period where we were seeing a lot of Aurora. A lot of people going to Norway and Iceland to take photos of Aurora. And one thing that's always stood out to me that I'm not a big fan of with these images of Aurora is, number one, the actual landscape itself it's always lacking, and the second one is the incorrect white balance. We've got a certain white balance in the sky, but that is then consistent throughout the rest of the landscape, and it does put your eye off quite a bit because you naturally, when you're out there, you don't have your eye doesn't have a complete white balance. It's not one. We have many white balances. We see shadows as something that's a little bit a little bit cooler. We see highlights that are a bit warmer, and our brain can see them all at once. And with take an example of this year, it is a bit dark, so it is hard to tell. But so many of these images, they don't have selective white balances in them. Then again, here it's a bit hard to tell because, the actual landscape itself is quite dark, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
I probably would have liked to have seen maybe Josh. Hi, Josh. Anyway, mate, if you're listening, hope you're well. Would have been nice to see maybe, opening your shadows up a little bit more. I don't know if that was possible because I'm assuming you probably took this image at 3200 ISO. If you could, if you want to write down in the chat here, if you're listening, if it was taken.
He is listening.
He's watching.
He was saying, I'll just catch up on these messages quickly. Angel says it looks like there is a fish shape in the sky. Very cool. Yeah, I see that one.
Yeah.
Which is kind of up and around here.
Yeah.
And Josh says the sun was still setting off to the west, adding a little bit of extra colour.
There you go.
You can see that just over there.
You can. Yeah. Look, you've captured the shapes in this Aurora is beautiful, and I like the way that it streams up into the corner, the left-hand corner of the frame. It's got a really nice balance about it. But it'd be interesting to see what this would look like just with a bit more exposure in your in the landscape, especially in that sandy area, I think.
Yeah, because obviously the bit off in the distance is going to be into quite a lot of shade anyway, and into shadow.
Yeah,
but your immediate foreground would be nice to see if you could get a little bit more out of it.
Yeah.
I like it though. It's got loads of lovely patterns and shapes going on in the sky, definitely. And that
does.
And the way that the bay leads kind of left to right as well works really nicely.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it's nicely balanced. I really like it. Yeah.
On you, Josh.
Yeah,
well done, mate.
Nice one. Yeah, nice one for getting out there as well. It's not it's what it's all about, eh?
Yeah. Well, if you're not there, you don't get the shot. That's
exactly
that's
definitely.
Right. So, just want to remind you again for next month, our subject is going to be foregrounds in the landscape. If you could submit your images to the official Outdoor Photography Guide Facebook group using the hashtag OPG Critique. We can't wait to see them and start uploading them now. Right, into the next image.
Oh.
Which is by Brian Nicholson in Allenmouth, Northumberland, not far from where I was born.
There you go.
Yeah.
We know this image quite well, don't we, Paul?
Yeah, I've taken lots of these, and so have you, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. You think? You think?
You think?
You think? I was blown away when I saw this pattern in the sand for the very first time. And it happened, actually. I'd never seen it before. I'd seen it for the first time when I was at home last year. And
right.
I read up about it, and it's actually a phenomena.
Right, okay.
How it actually happens. It's all about how the gas within the sand and the different components of the sands, the lighter sand, the heavier sand, together with the tide, and just the correct amount of suction out of the tide, creates these gas pockets that then create this pattern. And they do look like trees. And sometimes you'd be lucky enough you can get a whole entire beach full of them. And it's so beautiful to see. So we couldn't knock up to put this one on you tonight. I mean, look at the patterns and shapes in that, mate. That's nature at its best, isn't it?
It is, and we photographed quite a lot of these when we went to Harris and Lewis last year because we were getting a lot of these patterns on the beach, and they're amazing. And also, I noticed Adam Gibbs had put one out a long time ago with what they call a sand dollar in it, so it looked like a moon, and then you had all the trees,
right,
making up the shapes.
Incredible.
Yeah, they look amazing, and they really stand out really well because it's quite a contrasty image. They take quite a bit of contrast to actually bring out the shapes and patterns in these images.
Yeah.
That was what I was going to say. Actually, the edit really is so important, isn't it, with a shot like this?
It is, because otherwise you actually lose it, especially in sand. It's quite lose,
because obviously the furthest part and the highest part and the lowest part there isn't that great, is it? So a distance. So they do require a bit of work to really make them pop, and Brian has done a spot on job with that.
Sorry, mate.
I was just going to say, I know he's had some help with the low light, flashing across the sand.
Yeah,
but still, it's not an easy shot to edit and make it look compelling like this does.
And it's nice to actually see that he's kind of put it off at an angle, because a lot of these shots you do tend to want to kind of put upright, make them look like trees.
Yeah, of course you do.
Yeah, it's nice to see actually off at an angle, just because it makes it look completely different.
Yeah.
I think one thing with this image, because it is so close in, and it's just one small section of this. There is a name for it. I was looking for my phone now, couldn't find it. If anyone knows the name of this phenomenon, tell us. There is actual name for it. Anyway, what I want to say was the fact that he is closer in. What's happened is that you're closer in, and this sand, it's not fine sand. It's very grainier sand, isn't it?
Yeah,
of course.
It's like grit.
Yeah, it is. And because of that, because you've got more of that sand a bit closer up to you, it does take away from the actual pattern itself slightly. I think being a little bit further back, the sand itself will reduce in size, and you could see the pattern a little bit more. Being so close up to it is sort of, they're not easy shots to take, because anyone who's taken these shots before doesn't have experience taking these, because you're not going to see them very often in your life.
No.
I've seen them once, and I don't know. The time that I actually saw it was on a beach in Australia, and the sand, it was this very fine light grey sand. And what had happened was, behind me there was a river, so the river water was rushing in, and the deposits that were causing the river to actually mix with that sand created the gas, and it sunk down. And that was just a freak thing. It just happened then because the tide was coming at the same time. So who sees them for the first time doesn't know how to approach them, because you're not going to come across them often, you know.
Yeah, and exactly. They work in different ways as well. The ones in Harrison Lewis, for example, were created because you had like white sands, and then you had coal deposits, sea coal deposits, and those black grains were kind of making these patterns really stand out because the black grains were washing into the feather shapes. It's just different on every beach you go to when you actually see them.
Yeah, I would imagine because obviously I lived in Cornwall for 10 years, and we used to get them quite a bit here and there, but because Matt, we had a river, an estuary meeting the sea as well, which does help, doesn't it? But our sand was quite coarse, this.
Yeah.
But I would imagine if you had like more of a finer sandy beach, it would be even harder. You know, I don't know whether they would even. Or if they did they wouldn't hang around for very long, obviously, if they, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think you need that sort of coarseness in it to make it work.
Yeah. But I think you are right, Matt. I think the closer you go in with a shot like this, the less places there is to hide. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
On the edit. But like you could, if you give it a bit more breathing room, your eyes, there's a bit more to look at. Whereas going a bit closer in, you are putting all your eggs in one basket. But
yeah, it loses its impacts
a little bit. Yeah,
a
little bit. But I love the way that it's been composed, the way you use light.
Definitely different. That's for sure.
Yeah, nice, real nice.
I just want to catch up on the messages as well. Josh adds this was ISO 1600, but on an f1.4 lens with 1 second exposure. The compromise with a 1 second exposure is lack of shadow detail.
What do you mean by that, Josh? With the image, the compromise with the 1 second exposure is a lack of shadow detail.
Maybe it's noise introduced. I don't know.
Look, just sorry to go back to that. Sorry that we're jumping back and forth. That's
all right. I tell you what, I'll go back to that image so it's irrelevant again.
Yeah. So at 1600, I would be surprised if you couldn't recover a lot of that shadow detail. It's not about your exposure time. It's about the information that the sensors actually captured. If you haven't clipped your shadows, you should be able to get quite a fair bit back. 1600 these days is quite a good ISO, especially with the camera you're shooting with now too, mate. He's got a Sony, hasn't he, Josh?
Yeah, and one of the later ones. So it should mean he should be able to go up to 6400 or somewhere 6400
like that easily. Well,
easily.
Look, what cameras are coming out with now? So the sensors that are coming on the market right now, you can seriously shoot at 3200 with literally ISO-free images. It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's hard to even tell between 100 and 1600 now on these new sensors. So go back and have a look at it, mate, if you get a chance. Anyway.
Yeah, for sure. Right, I'll just come out of that again and go back to Brian's. Yeah, lovely shot, mate. Fantastic, and nice to see it off at a different angle as well.
Yeah, I really like that. Right on my street, that, Brian.
Well done. So just want to remind you all again, next month the theme is going to be foregrounds in the landscape. And by that we mean like flowers in the foreground, like Matt said before, like beaches, sand in the foreground, shapes, patterns in the foreground, anything that works as a foreground element in the broader landscape. That's what we're looking for.
Yeah.
So get your images submitted to the official Outdoor Photography Guide Facebook group using the hashtag OPG Critique.
One thing I just want to say before we move on to the next one, Brian, I had a look at the images you put in this month. You put in quite a few, and that really nice stuff, mate. Keep it going. You got some great images there. Very diverse images too. We chose this one not because we thought it was the best image, it's because it was good for a discussion. And
exactly.
Great work, mate. Love your photography. Good stuff.
Yeah. It's lovely to see you putting so much work out there. It's good that you're getting out there and getting it done. Right. Boom.
Oh, Guy. Yeah.
So this one was Guy Denning in NSW. What's that stand for,
South Wales.
New South Wales, Australia. There you go.
Not bad, huh?
I know. That's lovely. So much to like about this.
Good photographer, Guy. Yeah. He's a good photographer. And,
yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, if I'm not wrong, I think he took this with a Pentax K1. I could be wrong, but obviously it's the only camera you would stick under a wave.
I was just about to say that. I don't know if I'd stick my Sony underneath a waterfall, but
no, I wouldn't advise
it. Your little wooden cocktail umbrella is not going to help you much in that.
No, I wouldn't even show a Sony this weather. What kind of water, mate? It would panic just at the thought of it.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, so would my wallet as well.
Brilliant, isn't it?
But yeah,
huh?
yeah,
it's lovely. It's different as well.
I know it's really... so clever, really. I must admit, you got to applaud him for the bravery. If anything, you know,
it's got a Pentax, mate. You don't understand, do you? Like,
like if you...
he's going to come back and write in the chat rooms. Wasn't a Pentax, it was a Sony.
I would absolutely love that if he just said that.
Josh has just written up, this has immediate impact. It does. It's bang. It's in your face, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's so powerful. This is just power, isn't it? Bang.
It's right like an explosion going off right in the faces.
And spot on exposure. I mean, not spot on exposure, sorry. Spot on composition, like right in the middle.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I would love to know, Guy, if you're there, if you're not, we'll get onto the group. I want your feedback about this. All right, you're directing the camera up into the sky, aren't you, almost?
Mm-hmm.
Half of the frame is in the sky.
Yeah.
Exposure.
Yeah.
How did you get the details out of the water?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's hard because you're exposing basically to keep the detail in the sky behind it. And then,
Yeah. I'm really, really interested to know, is that how the raw file came out? Or did you just spend hours in post-production and find out some technique we don't know about?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, that's the sunset back there, and it's pretty bright behind there.
It's pretty bright, and then you've got water in front of you. Like, water is
the worst. It's the worst to expose for, isn't it? It's really difficult.
It is. I'd be really interesting to know. So post-production, composition, courage for doing everything you did. It's and creativity. Yeah, it's different. It's original, isn't it?
The other thing I thought of as well, right, is this? I'm assuming this is the first one, because you take one of these on the head, and you don't get it.
Yeah,
you don't get this shot. You know, you're doing it again after you've got the hairdryer out.
Yeah.
And then you've got water spots and all kinds of stuff all over your lens. We know what salt water's like.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like to do this and grab it under that, and potentially have to do it first time. You know,
or he did it by mistake. The wave was bigger than what he thought it would be. He had his 2-second timer on, and bang, it just happened.
And that was the end of that.
And that was the end of that. Yeah.
But
I really like the fact that he's shooting right towards the sun with it, and it's backlit, so the backlighting really stands out, doesn't it?
Yeah,
really makes that water pop.
Certainly does.
Yeah, amazing. I can't really critique that in like you said, in a constructive way, other than what a shot, really.
Oh well, that's critiquing, isn't it?
For me, you know, it's
there's not much to critique about it. What are your thoughts? Just want to point out, you know what I'm like.
Critique or take the piss or find something that you don't like in the image.
Yeah.
That's not what critiquing is.
Over to the left here. This little tiny triangle of water.
Yeah.
Would that have bothered you enough to take it out?
Yeah, I would have taken it out.
Yeah, it would have bothered me enough to take it out.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
That's the only criticism I've got of the whole image, is that tiny little thing over there would annoy me.
You know what I would have done? I would have corrected my horizon up a little bit more and sort of brought the left-hand side up a tad higher and then cropped out that triangle on the side.
Yeah.
Just to give it an even balance throughout, almost like a perfect U shape, you know?
Yeah.
Just slightly. Yeah.
Because I suppose, obviously, because you can't really see the true horizon, you can pretty much get away with doing whatever you want, can't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, No one's going to say, "Oh, yeah, that's
Well,
that's true." Yeah.
No, that little bit of water is suggesting on that side that it is slightly going up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm
See
just
it?
saying.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I
But
do agree with you. Yeah, I'm just mean like if you'd have already cropped that out, you can't really tell.
You wouldn't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah, good image. Good stuff, mate.
It's lovely. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, completely different and really. That's the good thing about this month. There's been some really unique images and a lot of creativity behind them.
It's because I told a lot of photographers from the outside to come in and I'd pay them.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to be very broke, mate.
He is Australian, I suppose. That does kind of back up what he's just said, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's lovely image, that guy. Fantastic. So next month, just want to remind you again, foregrounds in the landscape is going to be the theme. Submit your images to the official Outdoor Photography Facebook group using the hashtag OPG Critique. And next one is Damien Amor at Hackpen Hill in Wiltshire, your neck of the woods, mate.
Yeah, that is Hackpen Hill. Is about 20 minutes from my house. This area is obviously a lot of farmland. Well, it's all farmland pretty much.
And a lot of aliens by the look of it.
A lot of aliens. Crop circles are a massive thing in Wiltshire where I live.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure there's championships and competitions as well as illegal crop circling, whatever you want to call it.
Is there UFO sightings too, or
probably? I don't mix with them sorts, so I don't really. I'm not in the loop.
You don't take LSD, mate.
Mix with those sorts because he is one.
Yeah, I am one. I don't know. So when you're in the loop, you don't really realize you're in the loop. Yeah, it just becomes a norm.
Yeah, your name's not down. You're not coming in, kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, yeah, but yeah, it's yeah. So this I've never seen one like this though. Normally, obviously, a crop circles you do typical circle, and that's it.
Yeah.
They might have some little things circles around it, but to see like an actual sort of shape, a search or a line, it's very it's quite different to the normal what you normally see.
Well, you can tell they're definitely man-made ones because they've followed the tracks to go and get a start, haven't they? Let's face it, they've followed the tractor tracks.
Yeah, it's very clever, really, when you think about how they make them.
Yeah.
If that's what you believe.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Damon's really been really active at the moment with his drone. I speak to him and see him quite often, and he's loving his drone work at the moment. And I think it shows with his work over the last year. His photography sort of really pushed on, and I think that's just down to getting out. But the drone aerial photography, it really does. It's so impactful, isn't it? Because obviously it's like using a wide-angle lens or using a really long lens. You're putting the viewer's eye. You're giving them a scene that's not natural or common to the eye.
Yeah.
So you're already on for a winner in terms of the impact of what you're looking at because it's not what you normally see.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the way that it's been. The way that he's positioned the diagonal lines going from corner to corner,
it works well.
It's quite pleasing to the eye. Obviously, the light and the way that the field is really, really crisp helps. But yeah, I like the way that he's composed it.
Yeah, it's nice and it's a unique shape.
Unique, very unique. Yeah, very unique, very vibrant. Yeah, it's very abstract, and it's a shot that some people will probably 50-50 people will like, and 50-50 people think don't really know what it is. You know what I mean? It's one of them Marmite sort of images, but then that's what makes you an individual. And
I think if it adds that sort of sense of what is it, it does draw your attention in more.
Yeah.
It's really impactful that if you're kind of given that either sense of mystery or you're leaving something to the imagination, it really does hold your attention a lot more.
At first glance, you wouldn't really know what it was, would you?
No.
You wouldn't know that that's a field. At first glance, maybe not. Which might stop you in your tracks, hopefully. Yeah, there's plenty to look at and delve into, isn't there? Even though there isn't a lot in the image.
Yeah, well, again, it's simple. It's simple, isn't it? It's the simple image is the one.
That's what abstracts are like, that, aren't they? Abstracts should be able to get lost in them, and you got to try and make up your mind of what you're seeing.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's why they're so addictive, aren't they? And to look at, and
if you've got the time to look at them, a lot of people don't have the time, do they? Unfortunately, that's how things are with photography these days. People don't have the time to look at your stuff. If they did,
no, they don't.
If they did, they would come away with saying, well, you know what? I thought that image looked good for the first half a second that I scrolled down on Instagram. It looked impactful, looked awesome. Go back and look at it again. And I guarantee if you look at that image that really looked impactful at the beginning because of the saturation, because of the contrast, or because of the mountain that's been completely dragged out and warped, if you look at it again and look at it closely, you'll start picking things and you'll end up probably saying, you know what? That's actually not a good image at all. Whereas one that's less impactful, if you give it a bit of time, they're usually the ones that you need to sort of put in a gallery and kick back and look at and pretend you're artistic and do this, you know.
Stroke your beard.
Yeah. You know.
I wonder how. I must I'll get Damon to put in the comments to see. I wonder how much cleaning up he did, or if he did any. In Photoshop Lightroom, I wonder how much was there anything he had to take out, or whether it literally did look that pristine. You know, because it's generally always something, isn't there?
Well, generally, yeah. I mean, especially in mine, there's always something that I find that really bugs me.
Yeah.
It's like that top right-hand corner's bugging me now.
Yeah, I know. I've seen that. Yeah, I was looking because it doesn't match the bottom left.
Yeah, it's not a big thing at all, and I don't know. It just tiny little details like that just bug me after a while.
Yeah, so you compositionally to get the circles in the way he has, he's not going to be able to move up or to get rid of that. It's going to be a remove tool, wasn't it?
Yeah, you would have to remove it.
You'd have to remove that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I really like it. Different, completely different, because we don't get a whole load of aerial photographs in, so it's nice to see.
It is
different that way.
Yeah, nice one, buddy. I like that.
Great work. Right, we're motoring through. We're more than halfway through, guys. Just want to remind you all, next month, Foregrounds in the Landscape. Get your submissions into the official Outdoor Photography Guide Facebook group using the hashtag OPG Critique. Would love to see your images for next month. And as I say, don't hold back on getting them in. Start putting them in now, and then we can start sorting through them for next month. But the more the merrier, really. We want as many as we can possibly can, so we can choose which ones you're going to get the most benefit from, and we can talk about and give you some information on.
And if you're going to put up the photo too, don't forget, obviously, to hashtag OPG Critique with the image. Because I've seen a lot of people putting their images up, and I'm sure their intention was to be part of the live, but they didn't put the hashtag in. If you don't put the hashtag in, we don't see it.
Yeah, because we're searching by that hashtag.
We search by the hashtag. So we type the hashtag inside the Facebook group, and that comes up with all the images that have used the hashtag. That's how we collate the images. And another thing is would be really helpful for next month if people can just give a little brief description of camera settings and a little bit of a story behind, where it was taken. Things like that make a big difference. It's nice to put a story behind an image.
It really helps us out as well, because it kind of gives us more of an idea of where it was taken, and so we can help critique you better, basically, as well, if we know the story behind it.
For example, we thought we were talking about crop circles right now. This is probably a macro shot of a grape seed.
You never know. You never know.
Yeah. There you go.
Oh, look at this. You're gonna like this.
I know. There's another one. That's beastly, isn't it?
Steve Stanstein.
There you go.
Steve. Yeah. Well done, mate.
Yeah. Thanks for putting down that, Steve. Just invited Steve into the group, actually. Bang, he just put that in there for us.
Yeah, it's lovely.
So it's coming back to the other image from before from Brian, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Brian Nicholson.
Brian.
Yeah.
So if you can see this Brian a bit further back, I don't know. These patterns in sand can be on a big scale or a small scale too. So it's not necessarily what type of lens you're using. But see the difference that it makes going back a little bit. You haven't got the grainy sand that's fighting up against the patterns.
Yeah.
And you've got it as a whole big scale. That for me, I would happily print that out and have that on a wall.
Yeah.
A big print. That is
And the thing is with these images as well, just within this one frame, you could probably pull out countless different compositions out of that one frame.
Yeah.
As separate images.
But they'd be like the intentions would be completely different to the viewer, wouldn't they? Because like whereas Brian's shot was, you could instantly tell that it was sand.
Yeah.
Whereas this is more mysterious because it is sand, but initial glance as you're drawn to them, like Matt said, you're drawn to them patterns more, the more so than what the actual substrate is, you know?
Yeah.
So there's more. It's not so obvious as to what it is.
Do you see, Tom, in this image that there's something maybe in post-production that might have been neglected a little bit in this image? Something in post-production. So I'm not talking about the composition or the
you talking about contrast, maybe?
No, not so much as contrast, because a lot of people get contrast confused too. I remember about people out there. Contrast basically is
color
comes from the word difference, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Contrast. So the difference when the contrast actually is separating blacks and whites. So the further you separate, the more contrast you have an image. The closer they are together, the flatter they become, and the less contrast we have. It is, to a certain point of view, contrast, but I personally, if I was going to bring this up in post-production, I think that it does lack a little bit of whites. It lacks a little bit of shimmer, a little bit of glare, something to it. And if, sorry, I've got this dry throat. I've been trying to. Anyway, if you're in Rome in August, halfway through August, and it's 37 degrees, don't drink a cup of hot tea.
No, it's not a good idea.
I've got beads of sweat rolling down my back right now. It's horrible.
Definitely whites would help big style, wouldn't it?
If I would tend to maybe just increase your whites a little bit in post-production. And then another thing which I'm not a big fan of as much these days, but it would help this just to give it something, is a little bit of autumn. A little bit.
Yeah, just to give it atmosphere, a bit of a glow.
Yeah, well, I suppose that goes in hand with increasing the whites in the scene, doesn't it, really?
No, it doesn't. No, not in this case it doesn't. Because what does Autumn do? Autumn actually brings your shadows and your highlights, and it pushes them both to the extremes.
Yeah.
So it pushes them to the complete opposites, right? But when you do that, you include blur, so lens blur into an image, what happens is when you reduce that huge difference, so you're bleeding your shadows and you're bleeding your highlights beyond what the sensor recognizes them as. So they're actually out of the histogram, right? And you add blur to it. When it'll look like you completely stuffed your image up. But when you reduce your opacity on your slider, what happens is that difference is then bled through your highlights. You got this little tiny bit of bleeding. And I think that little bit of white bleeding, that blurry white bleeding in it, would give it something.
Yeah,
just very, very subtle.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, that's kind of what I mean. Like, when you have a bright source or a shimmer, or using a Autumn effect is a good way to sort of soften it. Obviously, and like you said, bleed into your shadows.
Yeah, in this case, it's not about softening. It's not about softening your corners. It's just about, helping those whites bleed a little bit. It would just give it a bit of atmosphere, I think. Yeah. But very, very subtle. I'm talking about 6 or 7% opacity.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, it looks a little flat. Because you're just staring at two different tones of dark shadows. Really, you know, you've got the darks of the actual, the fingers going through the sand, and then you've got the dark sand. So there's nothing actually making it pop.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
awesome
nice
shot. Awesome shot.
Great, yeah.
Lovely, absolutely lovely. And again, these patterns just fantastic to shoot.
Oh yeah.
And you can actually find them. It doesn't have to be on the coast. I have seen these patterns in rivers, on banks of rivers where there's one course of water meeting another. You do get them, there as well. So you don't necessarily have to be at the coast to make it work.
That's true. Yeah, nice.
Lovely work. Again, just want to remind you, foreground in the landscape for next month. Please submit your images to the official Outdoor Photography Guide Facebook group using the hashtag OPG Critique. And that's the key there, hashtag OPG Critique, so that we can actually find them. Right, on to this one, which is Serge G, which is Waves. He's titled this, and obviously Bali or something like that by the look of it. And this is a lovely shot as well. Got lovely patterns and textures in this.
Yeah, there's a lot to look at, a lot pleasing to the eye, but it's the way he's focused it round into the centre is quite important, isn't it?
Yeah, because he's almost used the focus like a vignette.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's the way that the sort of light hits it, and the way that this soft, like you said, around the outside, you really do get, although there's a lot to look at, you still get drawn towards that centre. And you get your feet. Obviously, you get the feeling because of the movement and the blur with the focus as well. You can get the sort of wind and the breeze. You get a feeling of the weather and the conditions at the time as well.
Yeah.
I think Tom, that all comes down to one simple thing is that you've got if there was no wind, you'd have all this. Is it grass seed?
It's barley.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you didn't have wind, you would have this barley sitting upright, wouldn't you? Okay, so it'd all be sitting upright. Now, what's happened is the wind has come through. It's quite a big gust of wind. So it's falling down, and you haven't got all of it falling down. So you've got a lot of it moving as it's falling down. Then you've got some that just sort of manages to move a bit less or isn't moving at all. So the ones that aren't moving as much are sharp. So that gives you the pattern in this image. What you're seeing is the waves are the ones that are moving, and the ones that are sharp are the ones that are still or moving less. Yeah. That's what gives it an abstract feel to it. Because if it was just all moving, it would be one big blur, wouldn't it?
Yeah. It would be all. You'd different. If it was all the same height, it would just be moving in the same way.
Yeah. Obviously, he's got down low, and the ones that, depending on what shutter speed, what aperture he's using. But then, like you said, it doesn't necessarily work like that way, because the fall off in focus would be more continuous, wouldn't it? So what you're saying is true. Like the wind.
Yeah, I don't think it's much about aperture or anything like that. I think in this case it's just purely the wind. It's the movement.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
the stuff that's blowing like mad is out of focus, isn't it? Because you've got not camera movement. You've got subject movement, and obviously things that are moving with a slower shutter speed go blurry.
Yeah.
Ones that don't move as much are less blurry or still, and they're sharp. So it's a good mix of everything, isn't it? That's what makes it attractive.
It's a good one to play with.
Excuse me.
Is wheat or barley fields, actually, because you can use them not only like this as a close-up detail shot, but you can use that motion in wide landscape shots as well.
Yeah, backlit stuff.
Yeah. To add motion to the bottom of an image, or you can use it in the same way as you would water. Basically, it's just to add that sense of motion.
Use it in the foreground for a landscape, for example.
It could well be. That's exactly.
There you go. Hint. Yes.
Yeah. That kind of thing works really well, and I've taken images myself using that. Anything that moves in a foreground of an image, you can use in the same way as water, and use your shutter speed to kind of give it a creative look about your image. It's all about experimentation, really. Josh says, imagine this shot with a little bird or field mouse hanging on for dear life on the end of a stalk. Yeah, that would look amazing.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would look amazing. Lovely shot. Lovely shot.
It is nice because one thing I was like you said, Matt, is when you blow this image up, you can see the sort of stalks that go down in past the surface. You can see they are sharper, obviously, than the higher it goes up, which adds interest, isn't it, as well?
Yep.
Because you're almost like looking through the image. You sort of notice things more the more you look at it, which is a sign of a impelling shot for me.
It is indeed. Right, so we've got 10 minutes left, so best crack on with this next image, which is Cracked Earth by Colin McDonald. Well done, Colin. You're another one that submits all the time, mate.
Yeah,
well
good
done.
on you, mate. Jeez. It's pretty bloody dry, isn't it, huh?
Yeah, that's just a little bit dry, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
And you get these sorts of patterns in the salt as well, in places like Death Valley and what have you, don't you? It's the same sort of patterns.
Yeah.
You get.
They're quite hard to shoot, aren't they? You know.
I've never seen them before.
No, it's we don't. It's never hot enough for you to do it.
No, it's not.
Same here.
No, it's never hot enough. Definitely not. I wouldn't even know where to even give yourself a slight chance in that where I live to get something like this.
No. You struggle, but I guess it's difficult to shoot because it's picking out patterns that are going to work within the frame.
Yeah, you're picking out patterns, but you've got to be careful that you're not giving the impression you've just took a picture of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That there's like a shot, like a subject or a certain repetition or like symmetry, whether that's color or shape. Which is what obviously this has. It has, and then the colors it's very even. Like it's quite flat in terms of color. The pattern is very symmetrical, and the color is very symmetrical from left to right. So you don't really. Do you get drawn to one particular spot?
No, I don't think so.
No.
It's quite well balanced out throughout, isn't it?
Yeah.
Paul, would you mind doing me a favor, mate? Could you bring that up? You're in Lightroom, aren't you?
Yeah.
If you just bring it up into if you just show us in Lightroom for a minute, just go to your white balance and cool it down.
So when?
Yeah, no, it doesn't do it. No, I think it was good where it was. Yeah. Maybe just a little bit less contrast. A little less of the contrast itself. And a little bit more whites. Just the whites on its own.
Too much. Yeah. Start blowing out there. There you go.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe it might look a bit nicer, a little bit cooler. But I think that, it's pretty good like that. But I just think adding a little bit more white to it crisped it up a little bit.
Yeah, just a little
dropping off on the contrast. Just because in between the cracks, it just looked a little bit too brown-ish, a little bit too deep. It just balances out a bit more. Great shot. Really.
Yeah,
I
find shots like this. See, I'm looking at it with my eye kind of on this section here. Now, if you look at one certain point in an image like that, you start to see other shapes evolving around it. And then you see a next lot of shapes. It almost swirls around. If you start staring at one particular point, you see lots of different patterns and textures.
You're getting all artistic in your old age, Paul, aren't you?
Yeah, either that or it's the whiskey. I don't know quite which it is. But But that's what I see. That's what I see when I'm looking at a certain point. You do start to see other patterns and shapes developing out of.
That's what I think is quite important, that for a shot like this, that it is symmetrical. if you haven't got a real focus, because then you do what you just said, don't you, Paul? You look, you move around the scene, and there's nothing really that's dominant. So you just go round and round and
you can have a sense of continuity, don't you?
Continuity, yeah.
And I think it's like what we referred to before, like if it leaves things to your imagination, then your imagination starts to take over and show you those different patterns and shapes that you wouldn't normally see.
Yeah, that's
it.
A great image. A shot that like the photographer means a lot to the photographer, then it means a lot to everyone, because they all make up their own minds about that. They have their own vision, and they get what individual people get different things out of the image. Then that way, don't they?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
lovely work. Lovely work. Well done, Colin. Just want to remind you again, for the very last time, Foregrounds in the Landscape is going to be next month's theme. Please get your images submitted to the official Outdoor Photography Guide Facebook group using the hashtag OPG Critique. We'd love to see your work. And get submitting those now as soon as possible. The more we can get over this next month means we can delve right into them and find you images that you're going to benefit from. The more we can talk about an image that's actually going to mean something, and we can get across a certain point. That's the whole point of these critiques, is to help you develop your photography.
Definitely.
Right, very last image, and it's Brian Nicholson again.
There you go, Brian. 2 in 1 day, mate.
2 in 1 day, and we couldn't resist with this one, because this is stunning.
Yes.
It's quite fitting for what's going on in Australia at the moment, isn't it?
It is, for sure.
Have you seen have you guys? Do you get the news about what's happening in Australia?
We don't too much, to be honest.
No,
too much.
Hey, you didn't hear what happened in the little town where my parents live. Town called Leongatha. Yeah.
No.
Little tiny country town, 2.5 hours out of Melbourne, Leongatha, where the lady, she fed her in-laws and extended family death cap mushrooms.
Oh dear.
And killed a lot of them. There's only one of them alive still in intensive care. Yeah, so I was just saying, it's just come in at the right time right now. Everyone's talking about mushrooms at the moment. It's going quite global, this story, but just happens to be from the little town where my parents are from. So there you go.
All right, there you go.
So these aren't death cap mushrooms. These are
mycelium, I think they're called.
Are you a fungi expert, are you, mate?
No, mycena, they're called. That is.
It's written in the.
Yeah, I'm not that clever. Don't worry.
I was going to say.
I do know.
Didn't think you were a fungi.
No, a fungi.
That's such a dad joke. I like that.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I love the detail in this shot. It's really nice, really well composed as well, so that he's got those repeating patterns again.
Yeah, some photo stacking. It's going on in here.
I think you've got to, haven't you, in a shot like this?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't understand when you're doing macro shots. You think, I'll just use a low f-stop, 2.8, bang, take a shot. Not that way at all. Macro, it's even more important. Front to back focus. You wouldn't think it would be, but it is.
Because you're right up on an object, aren't you?
So I wouldn't be surprised if this is a 5-image stack. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's like we said with this, like we're saying with the sand image. You've got nowhere to hide, so everything has to be nice and sharp.
Either that, or he's just taking a photo of a photo.
Yeah. I think I'd be tempted to take if I was focus stacking this, I'd probably take a focus point on each one of those mushrooms just to make sure everything was.
Yeah, I would say that wouldn't be a bad thing to do. To be fair.
Yeah. I like it.
So much detail there.
It's lovely, isn't it?
Love the color.
Yeah, it's really vivid, isn't it? It really pops.
Yeah, it's beautiful, natural orange, isn't it?
Yeah. Beautiful shot, mate. Really well done with that.
Yeah, it's nice.
We couldn't not show it because it's just it's this month's theme down to a T, really.
It certainly is.
It's not, as we'll say as well, it's very hard to bring the shadows out in something like this, but not too much, but enough. You know what I mean? It's like, because obviously the underside of their mushrooms are dark, and then you got extremes of light there.
Yeah, you've got to showcase the depth of those gills, though, don't you? If you take away the shadows, you're gonna not give them any depth, are you?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Brian says these were high up in a tree.
Oh wow! Oh, that makes it a bit easier, I suppose. At least you're not laying down in the mud, Brian.
Yeah, exactly. And you could almost. I mean, I know I've seen a few of these shots where people actually light them as well to give them to get rid of that problem with shadows underneath actually lighting from beneath.
Yeah, I know. Simon Booth does that, doesn't he? With uses a diffuser.
Yeah, you can use like a white card or something like that to pop that light back up in there.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, lay it on the ground, and it will just give you a little bit more soft.
Yeah,
from below.
Yeah, bounce the light around. Fantastic work this month, guys. Well done. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, no, there's been a lot more sort of intimate abstracts, obviously, with this month too, because obviously it's easier to find a compelling abstract or pattern in a landscape when you're closer into the scene, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's been great to see the amount of submissions we got this month. It's a really healthy amount, which helps us out big style. The more you can get in, the better it is for us, because it just makes our life so much easier to be able to search through and give you material that's going to help you out.
Oh, and it makes it more interesting for the people listening too, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, that's it. Yeah.
And hopefully next month with the foregrounds and the landscape as well. It's quite a broad subject, so we should get. Hopefully, we know. Fingers crossed. Get your images in. We'll get a nice crop as well for next month to talk about.
So plenty you can go at for next month. So please submit those images to the official Outdoor Photography Guide Facebook group using the hashtag OPG Critique. We can't wait to see them next month. We'll get the date sorted for next month as soon as possible, so you can know when we're going to go live. But in the meantime, please get those images submitted as soon as possible. Thanks very much for joining us, guys. See you on the next one soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye for now.
See you, everybody. See you. Thank you.
See ya.